Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you along this Friday morning. It's the last of the warm days for a while. Have you been watching the weather lately? It's going to be like Monday and Tuesday mornings. It's going to be below freezing, for heaven's sakes. But until then, it's going to be warm. And then it'll warm up after that. It's really weird. But that is typical Mississippi, right? Just hang around for a few days and the weather will change. So enjoy our warm weather days for a couple of days until next week. On the show this morning, got a couple things for you. Something that's really lovely and nice. And then we're going to talk about a topic that is not so lovely and nice. It's about animals, and not the good kind, but there are a lot of good ones. But it's an interesting show. We're going to start off talking about what is so lovely and nice is Joy Foy is on the phone with us. She is from the Canton Garden Club, the Garden Club of Canton, and they are involved in something that they do a couple times a year having to do with the square. Now, we always think of the square as a place for lights during the holidays and for the flea market, but it's so much more. Isn't it, Joy? Hi, welcome to Mary Wieden You.
Good morning to you, Mary. We are very excited about this upcoming event that the Garden Club has. And yes, we had something on the square last Saturday. We constantly are enjoying our historic square.
If people haven't been there, then, like I say, they need to come there, not just, come for the Christmas lights, the light whole thing. That's a beautiful thing. Do you all do that, by the way? Is that something that you sponsor, or the city does, or who does the lighting?
That's Canton Tourism.
Oh, okay.
That is a big undertaking.
That's big.
And that's Canton Tourism.
And, of course, then we think of Canton as the Canton Flea Market. But there's a whole lot of other things in there. In fact, wasn't it A Time to Kill? Wasn't that the movie where the lawyer, Lucian, I guess was his name, was played by Donald Sutherland, and Sandra Bullock was in it. Wasn't that done?
And Matthew McConaughey was Jake Brigance, if I remember.
Hey, yeah.
That's right.
So you're
That's
a famous
right.
place.
One of the museums that houses those movies that are filmed here will be on our tour that we're going to talk about this morning.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead, because I know that what you're doing is the biennial celebration of the square, but to keep it good and beautify it and so on. So, yeah, go ahead and talk about that part of it, please.
Okay, I am representing the Canton Garden Club this morning, and I'm sitting in for Wanda Baldwin, who is our president, and Margot Burnside, who is our vice president, and they were tied up and couldn't do this show this morning. So, Mary, thank you so much. We feel very honored that you would help us to promote our fundraiser.
Heck yeah, you're a fun place. That's a good place. And by the way, you're not much of a talker, right? So
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. But you're doing a good job of it. But so what exactly are you doing now? And you sent some beautiful pictures, and we probably showing those now. We are showing pictures of the square out the windows of what you have done in the past. So what's new and different right now?
This is a fundraiser for the Canton Garden Club, and it's called Upstairs Downtown. This was an event that has started several years ago, and we do it every other year. So it's not twice a year, but every other year that we do this. And we sell tickets for you to come and spend time from 4 to 8 o'clock in the afternoon on November the 13th, just touring the apartments that are around the square in Canton. So many people live here and have no idea that, hey, there's people living above your head.
I had no idea. It's what? They're living in the square. Wonderful. That's live, work, or whatever they want to do with it. Wonderful. How long have you been doing that?
This is probably the fourth or fifth year.
Wow.
Fourth or fifth time we've done it, so it's every other year, so we're looking at 8 years.
So wow. So what do we get to see when we come on the tour?
Okay, we have got 11 buildings that we're going to showcase for this tour. Some of them have been on tour before, but just because you've seen them in the past doesn't mean you've seen them. These people that own buildings around the square are changing just like we all do at our houses. And one of them is being added on at the back, the Crosby. But the Troleo Hotel is where it'll all start. That's where tourism is housed. And whether you buy your tickets, which are $20 in advance and $25 a night off, you will come to the Troleo Hotel for registration to get your pass for all of this, and you will be given a little cup that has Upstairs Downtown on it to be able to get a glass of wine everywhere you go around our event.
Well, so you'll be pretty well informed when you go drinking wine all around the square. Well, that's really cool. How has the square been changing over the years? I presume you add a lot of stores. They come and they go. How about restaurants? Do they come and go, or there are the staples that stay there we'll always know they're there? Or how does that work for you all?
We do have restaurants on our square. Mary Penny's has one that she does lunch every day, And then we've got several restaurants around town. Two Rivers, I think everybody in the whole state knows about our Two Rivers restaurant, which we're famous for here. Johnny Stewart and his crew do a great job. But we have more weddings and venue-type things on our square than anywhere else that I know of.
Wonderful.
And Susie Morgan caters all of that. She's a local person.
Oh, that's wonderful. The one that you said, Penny's, is that on the north side of the square? I think it's on the north end of the square. Is that right? Facing.
Now, I didn't understand. Penny's?
Is that the one you said that has been there for so long that everybody knows about? Did you say, is it Penny's that you said was been there for
Oh, Mary Penny's. Mary Penny's is on the south side of the square, and it's at the back of a consignment shop. So you can shop your way through and eat at the back.
Sounds really wonderful. Okay, so this is November 13th, and that's next Thursday. Is it next Thursday?
Yes, it's next Thursday.
That's happening fast.
From 4 to 8 o'clock.
Okay, and so where do people go to get their tickets, and where do they park when they're there?
Where they park is going to be first come, first served, but there's lots of parking. And around the square if you're early enough. And then at Trustmark Bank, there's parking. And then behind these buildings are parking. So just wherever you can find. The Baptist Church has lots of parking in its area. And we hope you fill up all of those.
Absolutely.
You will come to the Troleo Hotel, which is on the west side of the square, right in the center. And it's very obvious because it's the biggest thing over there. And the Garden Club will check you in. And when you get checked in, even if you've prepaid, you'll come there.
Okay.
And you'll get a pass. And as you go to these different buildings, that pass is what will let you in. And if you go to the left, you'll stop at the old historic post office first, and then the museums, which is Warner's Corner, and just follow around the square. And there's places to stop on all sides.
Sounds fun and a very cool thing to do, and you sure have a lot more things up there to do than I thought of. I haven't been there in a while, excuse me, even though I don't live so very far away.
Our stores will be open that night, so you can shop. Some of our stores, not all of them, will be open that night. And then over where we have most of our events on the square at Sterling Hall, it will be open, and we'll have live music. We'll have a jazz band there on the square.
Wow.
And then, and Fraser Riddell, who is a local guy who is just a wonderful. He has a guitar, and when he sings, it's heavenly. It's wonderful.
Wow.
And Ralph Miller, that everybody knows Ralph Miller, will be there with us at the Troleo Hotel. So we're going to have lots of fun things for you to do.
Sounds really good. Thank you very much. And so that's next Thursday the 13th, Canton Square. Don't miss it, from 4 to 8 p.m. And so $20 to get in. That's very reasonable for what you're going to do. And congratulations to you all for keeping all this stuff up. That's great. Thanks an awful lot, Joy. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary.
You are so welcome. Pretty good stuff, don't you think, folks? I think that's really good to know about. I had no idea Canton Square was becoming so busy and all that. It's so commercial. That's pretty terrific.
Well, it is a beautiful place.
Well, yeah. Like I say, you think about it as the flea market, which I've never been to because I don't get up early enough in the morning to go shopping. But the lights, the Christmas lights that's a fun thing to do.
Oh, yeah. I've tried to hit it about every season. It's happened. As a kid, that was always kind of a big deal, too.
Yeah.
The Canton lights, and then you had the flea market, and Canton is a cool little spot and a beautiful square too. It's very unique. I love going around Mississippi because not everybody's got a square.
That's
and
right.
the ones that do have that courthouse sitting right there, and it's such a beautiful setting. But there are a lot of Mississippi towns that don't have that kind of setting, and I love them. But there's something about the square.
I have to tell you something historical that I do know about that square, which was back in the 80s when Bert and I were going to get married. We didn't want the world to know. It was we either had to invite everybody or nobody. We decided not to invite anybody because, you can't stop with people like that, So we got our license in Madison County at the courthouse there. And the sheriff at the time was Billy Nobles, and he evacuated, told all the people there, go away for a little bit of time here. I need to have the courthouse. And so then he said, come on in. So we went in there, so nobody would bother us at the courthouse, and nobody would have. But that was kind of a nice thing to do. That kind of cool one.
You were trying to keep it secret anyway, so you didn't want the news out before you were married.
He really did keep it secret, and I appreciated that. We thought that was really very cool. Well, alrighty, now we got to move on because we got big business here, and it's about animals. Got Doll Stanley here. She's with In Defense of Animals, and you have a new title too. You are with the director of Animal cruelty. That's not it. What's the name of your new? You have a new organization?
Justice for Animals.
Oh, you got to put your mic up, by the way. Whoops. You got to put your headset on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know that she was coming in on this segment, so I'd have pulled her mic up.
Yeah, well, that's okay. She can pull it up. Yeah, this in defense of animals, I know you have. There you go. You've been here enough times. You got to slide it over a little bit more to you.
There we go.
You've done enough. Yeah, you know what to do. You've in defense of animals, but don't you have another organization that you're the director of that I just read?
Well, I work for In Defense of Animals.
Right.
I'm our senior campaigner for the Justice for Animals campaign.
That's it.
Yes.
Is that new or has that been around?
Here's the deal.
Yeah, what's the deal here?
When I left the sanctuary, it just had gotten so large. There was so much to do besides caring for the sanctuary and getting the supplies and the staffing. I was also working on legislation in animal cruelty cases. Mm-hmm. This way, I'm free to focus on cruelty cases and legislation when it's appropriate.
And that's going to be one of the questions I'm going to get to is what you expect out of the legislature, which will be coming up before we even know anything about it. But, you know, as soon as the business about the monkeys happened, I said, there's only one person I know who knows about animals, and that would be you. And wondering if you've had experience at all dealing with animals like that have been particularly used for experimentation, and you have, haven't you?
Well, in the past, when I was in California, when Dr. Katz, well, he was our founder. And I'll tell you, Dr. Katz, when he targeted something, he knew what he was doing, and he got action.
And is that because a lot of people out in California have got wild animals that they keep?
No, initially, we were Californians for responsible research.
Oh, okay.
Because Dr. Katz had discovered what was going on at UC Berkeley. And I'll give you two examples. Yeah. He did manage to get the USDA to fine UC Berkeley, and one animal had to be euthanized. There was a chimpanzee that was in such bad shape, his testicles were gangrenous.
Oh, for God's sakes.
He couldn't move over to get water. He drank his urine.
Oh, man.
So, that's horrific.
Awful. Yes.
And then there was a researcher named Dr. Devillet. We actually held a protest.
Dr. Devil.
Yes. We actually held a protest in front of his house. He was so wicked. A kitten, somehow got in one of the vents in his area, and the students reported that he took the kitten and experimented on it. Now, that's not only there was no protocol, not only did he not legally acquire the animal for research.
Of course not.
He did what he wanted to do.
And God knows what he did. It was pretty awful. Do you know the details of it, or is it?
We'll just say there was some brain research.
Oh, geez. Is there any kind of animal research that is good and legitimate, beneficial?
When it's not invasive.
Okay.
There are some excellent groups. One of them is PCRM, Physicians Committee for Responsible Research, and they are scientists, and they constantly work, especially on the universities, to get them to pull away from the animal research. Mm-hmm. And why is there an incentive for animal research? Well, let me tell you.
It's not money.
Or
is it money?
Money.
Oh, it is money.
Okay.
Whoa.
Now, when you're talking about universities and research facilities, what do they get when they get money for the research project? Well, the first money is directly for the project. Purchasing animals, daily per diem for feed, bedding, routine veterinary care, and facility service fees. So what is the indirect money?
Yeah, and that's vague enough, a lot of it.
For facilities, administrative costs, running utilities, compliance, staff, IACU administration, build, and upkeep. There's big money
big bucks,
in animal research. And we have uncovered, and we're not the only ones, the most incredible. How much water does it take before a dog dies? Okay. songbirds, you name it. Here's the thing. A scientist who is trying to make a name wants to do studies that are outstanding. But in the meantime, there's this money deal. And you know, the reason why I'm here in Mississippi was initially there were 2 animal dealers. Both of them were USDA licensed, credentialed to acquire animals for animal research. Did they raise them? No. Did they get them legally? No. They volunteered as animal control. They went to the trade days. Well, I really didn't want to come. I'm glad I came because I've been here 32 years.
Oh, wow.
But I went undercover, and I was a lot bolder then because I didn't have my personal animals had passed away. I really wasn't afraid of too much. And I would go to the trade days in Alabama, Mississippi, and Arkansas. And I finally got Connie Chung's eye crew to come in. Oh. That's how we got these 2 guys shut down. Oh. For 6 months. And the media in Mississippi was awesome, except for the Clarion Ledger. Clarion tried to turn it into a pro-research, anti-research. This was about hunting dogs. This was about people's dogs. And we knew for a fact, the reason why we found out about these guys is one of them made the mistake of stealing a dog from a Mississippi DEQ inspector.
Oh, wow. We're going to stop for a break here. We got Doll Stanley with us, and we'll be back for more. Don't go away. This is fascinating in a sad sort of a way. Don't go away. Here's Doll Stanley with us with In Defense of Animals. She's such an expert in all this, and how you do this is just my hat goes off. I've never seen you do that work, but I've certainly seen a lot of things on pit bulls and parolees, and that's such an education. I'm so sorry that they're not doing new shows so people can see, but the rescue work is unbelievable. It's hard physical labor, mental labor, and it only starts with when you get the animal, dogs predominantly, out of a ditch or under a house or whatever place they're in. That's just the beginning, of taking care of that animal. And so, you always hear them say, if you watch the show, well, we hope we find a home fast. Well, it's not because they don't love the dog. They want those dogs out. They want them to, have houses. And when I adopted my little Cece, another dog was adopted. It was adopted the day before, and so I'm sure they were thought, well, good, and they do. It's hard work. So what were you saying right before we went to break? What were we at?
Well, we were talking about the 2 animal dealers.
Yes, these guys in Mississippi. Yeah,
Jerry Vance and Jeff Hodges, and what had happened is David Hall, who was a DEQ inspector, had gone to Jerry's property to check pigs. He had a pig farm. Well, right next door, David saw a massive amount of dogs.
Oh, my God.
So he went over and he asked one of the workers, Jerry Vance wasn't there at the time, if he could look at the dogs. He found his dog, a red chow bogey. Oh. And then what happened? When Jerry came, he wanted his dog. Jerry showed him papers from Arkansas, a black chow. He said he got this dog from Arkansas. Well, first of all, does a grocery store that has milk give grocery store to the one next door that runs out? No.
And does a dog answer to his own name to this man?
And hello. Red is a little different than black. So David got home with his dog, and he alerted a few people in town. And one person that found out about it was a teacher. And strangely, she was talking. She loves animals. So she was talking in her classroom about this guy that had been discovered. And one of the kids goes home and he said, Mom, Dad, there's this guy, and he's picking up people's dogs and selling them to laboratories. And wow. His mom and dad went there with the sheriff's department Their dog was right on the road in a pen getting ready to be loaded and taken to a laboratory. Now, all these dogs had their vocal cords cut.
Oh.
So both dogs came up missing within 2 weeks. David Hall went back to Jerry and said, hey, Jerry rolled on his heels, crossed his arms, and said, I told my wife, I had a good mind to have your dog killed for causing me so much trouble. He even told him he knew what time his little girl went to school and came home. So
sick people.
You know what? I took everything I had. I had proof. In Defense of Animals had pulled records on both these guys. They had over 750 violations of the Animal Welfare Act, and nothing had been done.
Well, and that was 30 years ago? Maybe, and things are different.
Well,
because now, because you've talked about judges and prosecutors and law enforcement people. Now the attitudes have changed. Like, hey, this ain't right, and this is disgusting, and etc. Animals are getting respect. I guess.
Well,
and
here's the
your
thing.
work is getting respect, but
everything that is hidden, we don't know about.
Yeah.
And the truth is, even in the meat industry, they're no longer having government inspectors. There's basically some folks that do the self-inspection. Now, it's horrifying, the things that we see. Absolutely horrifying.
Well, I live in Rankin County, and I think we've got problems with dog fighting, and I think so does Rankin, Madison, Warren, Simpson, everybody. I mean, everybody. And it goes on all the time, doesn't it? I don't understand why. Somebody was talking about that. I do take my dog to a dog park and let her stretch her legs on weekends, and somebody said there was conversation about something to do with cruelty to animals and fighting, and this dog owner was saying, I wouldn't mind seeing, those people get the same kind of treatment or worse to that effect. And I said, yeah, me too. I have no use for people like that. I don't get that. I just don't get that.
Well,
why people can
even
do
transport. There's regulations for the transport of these animals, like the monkeys in the crash.
Yes. What did you think about that?
Well, it was very odd. We're all trying to figure out why you would leave Tulane going to Florida and wind up in Jasper County. So we're not really sure the reasoning behind that. But the reality is, at one point the university said they weren't diseased. The driver said they were.
There were two stories.
We don't really know.
Do you think that woman was justified in killing the one that was on her property because she was scared because she thought it was full of diseases?
I'm not going to judge her, but I'm going to say this. I would have gone in the house and called authorities. They knew they were looking for them. There could have been an animal control officer that had, we call them a tranquilizer gun. They're not tranquilizers. They put you down.
Oh.
They're basically a sedative, but a down. And
is it xylazine?
There's a couple of chemicals that are used.
Or Rompin?
Rompin's one of them. Yeah. I actually had a pit bull I was transporting once that had gotten some Rompin at actually the cocktail, because when I first got her in, she was chewing through her metal crate to get the dog next to her. So I went back and we gave her a shot, a cocktail. I'm on my way to Oxford with her, and I put her in the front seat now because she's out. Yeah. She's got her head on right next to my lap. Every time I hit a bump, every time I cough, she took a hunk out of my front seat. I had to have my, in the old days when you had the bench seat, I had to have the whole thing redone. It was just a reaction. Yeah. She wasn't aggressive to people, but definitely to dogs. Well, they came from a dog fighting case.
Years ago when I had my horse, something happened. She had a cut on her head, and so the vet came, and I said, well, how can I help you? Because I want to be vet. And he said, well, he's going to give her Rompin, and it was going to make her be like drunk, and I should hold her head. And so I did, and her head got heavier and heavier and heavier. And he did his stitching. He goes, okay, you can lead her back to her stall now. And I said, is she going to fall down? He said, no. She was like, staggering. And I thought she was going to go. She didn't. She didn't go down. And I put her in her stall, and I put some hay in her mouth. I thought maybe she'd like to eat something. She didn't even move, and she was an eater, by golly. But she ended up just fine. And I did for another horse one time. Had half of her lip bitten off by another horse, and the owner wasn't there, but I was, and so I assisted in that surgery. And same thing with romping, but it didn't. They were not that bad. I mean, they could be led slowly and cautiously back to their stalls. But wow, I mean, I just was, as we were talking last week, what is wrong with people? Another thing that happened, and this is an awful thing to say, I suppose, but remember Michael Vick? Who can forget about him?
Yeah.
That guy. And I remember when they had the Magnolia Classic not long after that, and I was out at the show, and I think it was a judge. There was a group that they were judging, and there were some AM staffs there. And I said, it was about that. And he goes, what do you think about Michael Vick? I said, that sorry son of a bitch. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. He goes, no, you were right to say that. I said, well, I mean, there's no excuse for that. I just, what's wrong with you?
And he wasn't sorry for what he did. He was sorry he got caught.
Well, what I was going to say about this man, when we were talking last week about the dogs at the dog park, I said, by the way, you'll be interested to know that Mississippi has made slow progress increasing for people who do cruel things to animals. It used to be like if you were found with 5 dogs that were cruel, you would only get one prosecution, one charge.
Right.
Now, 5. And the guy goes, oh, I didn't know that. It was really good to know. And that's thanks to you and
I filed
Senator Jill and
8
others
yesterday.
Wow. And the late Senator Deering from Natchez.
Yes, he was wonderful.
That's one of the things I wanted to ask you about today was, because you mentioned at the beginning of the show we talked about legislature's coming up. You have gotten increases in charges, you've gotten increases in penalties, but it doesn't stop
and we
there.
We need to let that lie for a little bit. Now, yesterday, somebody contacted me about a youth, an 11-year-old, who is cruel to animals. Like in the neighborhood, everybody knows it. They don't know what to do. Buddy's law. So I communicated with the person, and I said, don't forget Buddy's law. That's what it's there for 12 and under. So they can get help before they turn into serial killers.
Well, Buddy was the dog who was burned. Right. And how is he, by the way?
He's doing great.
Isn't that wonderful?
I mean, it was a long, tough road for him to recover, and not every dog can do that.
What is he? Was he a pit bull or?
Yes.
Now, and they are, by the way, and I've learned this from pit bulls and pearlies. By and large, they're loving animals. And this one that was at the dog park, I got a kick out of him last Sunday. He's a huge guy, and he's still intact, but he's a very sweet dog. I mean, he must have weighed 150, 180 pounds, but just sweet, just a sweet, good boy. And I thought, well, that's what they are by and large. It's just when they get
my Kenny. He only weighs 105 pounds.
Oh, you got him now? Aren't you feeding him?
He is an angel. And sadly, I actually had to euthanize one of my dogs that I'd had for a long time that had a very bad start. But when I was in my other house, it was 2-story. He could get away from everybody. And my new house, I mean, there's a huge yard and there's a huge dog area inside the house. But twice he went after Kenny. He only weighed 80 pounds. Uh-huh. He was a boxer lab.
Uh-huh.
I heard a horrible noise. He was out in the yard and he was dragging Kenny across the yard by his head, gnawing on his head. Oh. And Kenny wasn't fighting back. Oh. I've seen Kenny. We had one young dog that we got, and he was like a little stout guy. He had some little bulldog in him or something. And when they met, that dog slapped Kenny across the face with his paw. And Kenny went, "You want to play?" Oh. And they wound up being the greatest friends. They'd run around the yard, and of course, they'd clash, and that dog would bounce off Kenny's chest. But Kenny's an angel.
Sweetheart.
But I'm going to say this. In just one case I had, I removed 54 pit bulls. They were fighters. If they are bred for that kind of aggression, you're going to have a tough time.
And if you're going to get a pit bull, you need to know the history of the dog.
Right.
I mean, they can be retrained, certainly, but you need to know what goes on.
And here's one thing. Let's remember, if you send your dog to a trainer, they're not training you. we get these horrible cases where dogs die or killed while they're being trained.
And we're going to
train with your dog.
Take a break. Back for the final segment.
Most of all, he was my best friend, and he's gone too soon.
Oh,
that's sad.
It's a great song, though. I mean, Sturgill
Yeah.
Simpson, Dude and Juanita is the album that it's on, and it's a kind of a throwback to those types of songs that he did that were done in that era. But one of my favorites, it's called Sam, and he's a good dog.
He's a good dog.
That's right.
Well, I was talking about your dog during the break, and this
My
last
horse.
Week, yeah, he is. I saw something. I think it was on TV. Someone mentioned about there's a difference between an American German short-haired pointer and a German short-haired pointer. From Germany. And I think so, because your dog he's pretty boisterous. I don't know he's young, but he's pretty wild and crazy, right?
Oh, no, he turned 2, and whatever I tell him to do, he just says, yes, sir.
Oh.
Yeah,
Two's the age.
Yeah, he hit 2,
that's the thing,
and there's something maturity in him happened, and he is just absolutely a treat. I don't worry about him at all now. I mean, when he was younger, he'd get out in that field, boy, and he'd get gone, and I'd blow that whistle and get it as loud. He'd look back after about a quarter mile and go, all right, I need to get back. But now he's I don't really have too much to worry. He's I've trained him, but at the same time, he's extremely smart, and, I didn't do that to him. He's just smart.
All dogs are getting smart. This one that I have now, my rescue dog, she is sort of being trained by Heidi, or she's training herself by Heidi, because she goes and she found where Heidi slept, which was it was on a pillow on the couch, but not the pillow that's out the front one, it's the one in the back. And she'll pull that one out and she'll lie on that one. She'll get in a chair in the living room that Heidi got into, and she throws pillows around. I don't know. I've never seen dogs throw pillows around, but
Hawk loves doing it.
Well,
I mean,
Heidi,
he loves nesting.
Heidi did it, and she'd throw them around, and this one does it. And like, well, how do they know this stuff? But
he's got to spin like a tornado 48 times before he finds his spot in the bed. And then when he does, he's like, he's such a big dog, but when he decides that it's time to be small, he can be. It's really kind of funny. He can shrink to the size of a toy poodle when he wants to lay down and curl up. But when he's standing and sprawled, he's as big as I am almost.
Well, aren't they funny, Doll? Aren't they? Doll, you got a bunch of dogs at your house. Do you believe in breeds? I mean, well, that's a silly question. Of course you do.
Let's face it.
But but if they're properly raised, that makes if it's proper, it's a proper licensed breeder who knows what they're doing, and as opposed to somebody who's selling them on the street.
The puppy mill stuff. It's
and
insane.
We still have that up in. Is it Corinth? It's Corinth.
We've got puppy mills here and there, even in this area.
But yeah, we had that one. It was Corinth. Was the big one, right? I guess are they still going? Is that the right town I'm thinking of?
I'm not sure.
Pretty sure. And I think it's Corinth. They've been notified. They've been popularized of that. It's people know that that's the place with puppy mills.
The problem is that some people still. They want that breed of a dog, and they don't bother to do their research. And they think that because they're getting it directly from the breeder, that they're going to be able to train it. There's not going to be any problems. What they don't realize is that parent has not had a life at all. And the stress and parenting is one thing that dogs do. So, I've had some real experiences with dogs that have been taken from puppy mills.
It's the adult dogs that the puppies, they might have a chance. You presume that they do, but the breeder, the female.
It's horrible. Not just the female, the
male too. But the females are the ones that I've seen where they're destroyed. They can't go outdoors. The feet are busted up from living in cages, and they're just broken. They're broken animals. And there is help for those, though, don't you think? So why do you not think we need to do more on legislation now?
No. What we want to work on this year?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Believe it or not, there's a lot of bestiality in Mississippi.
Ugh.
I work on those cases.
Oh.
So we want to get the law changed somewhat, because for years it was basically the sodomy law. Then the other thing is, currently, and people will go, wow, you're an animal person. Why would you want to do this? Well, I'll tell you why. When someone is mauled by a group of dogs that have a history, they're not the people that the dogs belong to. Their guardians are not prosecuted. In Mississippi, you're only prosecuted if the person dies. Oh. We had a young boy in Montgomery, Mississippi. He'll never be normal. 4 dogs pulled him off his bike down into a ditch. The only reason why he's still alive is because someone saw it. Now, let's talk on the dog's behalf. After all, I'm an advocate, not just for children, but for animals. What do they do when the dogs attack? They shoot them. They euthanize them. So is that good? So wouldn't we want a law that protects the child and the animals? And not just children. You know, there was the lineman in Carroll County. He was just getting ready to leave, and a neighbor's dog came and got hold of him. We interviewed him. I have a video of the interview. That man went through hell. If you, and there's a really good online magazine, Animals 24/7.
That's the website?
Yes. They have been in the animal rights movement forever. They write on all kinds of issues, and they report the dog bites and maulings across the nation.
You know, what gets to me sometimes is and we've had them happen around here, and I can't think of when, but not so very long ago. Someone will want to have their neighbor's dog put down because their neighbor's dog bit their child. Their child went into the dog's yard. Well, you don't ever do that. You don't ever go into somebody's yard alone, without knowing, and certainly permission would have a whole lot to do with it. But being accompanied by somebody who knows something, you just don't wander into somebody's yard. And when that happens, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, and I'll give you a perfect example. You know how Cocker Spaniels can be. Why?
Not so much.
When we were growing up, the Cocker was everybody's favorite, but the breeders inbred, overbred, and a lot of Cockers, not all of them, have a little bit of an attitude. I had one that when I left the house, I put a training leash on her, because if she was behind the chair or back in her hideout behind the toilet, if my husband tried to get her out to take her outside, she'd bite him.
Oh.
Other than that, she loved people. She loved children. She loved company. And then I heard about a dog. Someone called me and asked me if I could help some Cocker Spaniels in Arkansas. I was sick at the time, so I couldn't. So they said they'd work things out, and time passes, and I get a call from somebody in Tennessee. Can I come and please help with a party Cocker? Those are the black
party
and
color,
white.
yeah.
So my friend and I went up there, long drive, and we get there and we find out this is one of those dogs. This is the one I said I couldn't take because it was a biter. Well, I looked into the history. The dog had been rejected a few times, and when he bit, there are some animals that you ask them what to do, you don't push them around. One woman adopted him, and when he went to jump in the front seat, she shoved him back. He nipped her. He didn't attack her. I have a little scar from when I was taking toilet paper out of his mouth.
Oh.
He had been in 4 homes.
Oh.
I think the first one, a child went into the kitchen, the food area, unattended, and he nipped the child. Well, it's a good thing that Ace didn't get put to sleep, because he spent his happy years with 2 of my best volunteers.
Oh, that was good.
And I will say they adopted from us probably 7 different animals over the years.
Yeah, behavior, that's a fascinating subject about them, but a lot of, you think aggression is fear. They're afraid. And what do you do when you're afraid? You either back down or you lash out. But if it's attitude, that's another whole thing.
But even if it's attitude,
but still,
you learn the animal.
Yeah, and how to.
And I'm not saying, look, There are some dogs out there that have Charlie Manson attitudes.
Ew.
Okay.
And they don't have to be pit bulls either.
And animals, we're not all perfect. But for the most part, it's understanding. And I can't repeat enough how important it is. If you're going to have your dog trained, you have to be trained.
Yes.
You bring that dog home and you haven't learned what he's learned, and he knows it. Have you ever had a horse take you to task because you didn't know what you were doing?
Well,
yeah.
She didn't like to have her saddle put on. You couldn't cinch it up. I couldn't cinch it up. They said she was cinchy because she'd throw herself down on the ground. But anyway, wow, Doll, this time goes by so fast with you. Doll Stanley, thanks an awful lot for being here. And good luck with whatever comes out of the dome, under the dome this session. And we'll be back next Tuesday when it's freezing cold out. We'll be sitting here in icicles.
And a shout out to the Tallahatchie County Sheriff's Department and Justice Court. They never fail us. Yesterday, I filed 8 counts of cruelty.
Good luck, and we'll talk about those next time you're here, I bet you. All right, everybody, have a good weekend.